Welcome to another episode of Start the Week with Wisdom. I'm your host, Bridget Burns with the University Innovation Alliance.
And I'm Doug Letterman, co-founder of Inside Higher Ed.
Each week, we bring you a short, uplifting interview with a leader in the field that we think you should be listening to. And we always keep it light and positive and focused on leadership. So that's why we call it Start the Week with Wisdom.
And the show is sponsored by Mainstay, which is the student engagement and retention platform that has proven its efficacy through peer-reviewed research. You can check out that research and learn more at mainstay.com.
And this show is also broadcast on the Innovating Together podcast, which is sponsored by the Carnegie Corporation of New York, who we are grateful for their support. So today, we're really excited to bring to the show someone who I've been hoping to highlight for a while, and that is the president of Michigan State, President Guskiewicz, Kevin Guskiewicz, who's been at MSU since March of 2014, or 2024, not 20. It might feel like since 2014. And previously, he served as the chancellor of UNC Chapel Hill. He's also has a whole separate other life as a widely respected, world-renowned neuroscientist who received a MacArthur Genius Grant for his work in 2011 on concussions. So super interesting guy that we always wanted to learn from and talk about things with. And so thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Bridget and Doug. Looking forward to the conversation.
So we wanted to jump right in. And as universities are always struggling to, I think we're getting a lot of feedback from the public, and we're trying to better frame the work we do to help support graduates in the workforce and in their life success. We want to ask questions about what happened in your undergrad career experience. Any experience, could be just on campus, anything that you think most positioned you to be the guy you are today and how successful you are.
Wow, you're asking me to think back many, many years ago. But, I think it was about being exposed to different opportunities. I was a double major in two very different fields, sports medicine and journalism, and was the editor of my college newspaper while I was also treating student athletes as part of the athletic training program at Westchester University. But I learned so much about the importance of that exposure and the opportunity to pursue different opportunities. Both of them involved a lot of experiential education beyond what happens in the classroom. And so that really informed my decision as I've sort of helped to guide my own 4 children on this journey of pursuing a college degree, but also how I've been serving as an academic leader, as a department chair, a dean, and chancellor, and now president, to make sure that those same opportunities are afforded to as many students as possible.
That's great. I had no idea about the journalism thing. Yeah.
Deeply, deeply admire that. So thinking, just keeping a sort of going back on that chronological path, were there particular people or experiences that you think most shaped the way you lead today, from sort of going, again, deep cuts maybe back in the past?
Sure. I mean, probably some of that started in my undergraduate years. I had a mentor, Phil Donnelly, who sadly just passed away a few years ago at Westchester University, but he always emphasized the importance of being curious and always ask why, not just take for granted what a professor says in front of the classroom as being a fact or necessarily true, but to challenge and ask why. So I've always sort of operated in the same way. I've always said, I was once asked, what's your I was in an interview, I think with a reporter from the New York Times after I had received the MacArthur Award, and they said, what's your favorite word? And I said, why? And they said, well, because I want to know. And I said, no. Word. And then I think I mentored David Perrin at the University of Virginia. He was really big on, he was my research mentor and taught us how to be hypothesis driven, to, have a hypothesis, test a theory with the best people available, the best research methods and tools, and then you have an outcome, and then you have to know how to then articulate it and message that outcome as you write the discussion of your research paper. Well, I think I've led as a dean and as a chancellor and a president in much the same way. I think it's a hypothesis-driven approach with a theory and idea to where you have to come down on a decision. And as presidents, we have to make tough decisions, but I do it through a hypothesis-based approach. And test it with really good people surrounding you. If you got to have that team around you, and then comes that's the science part. Then there's the art part of communicating that decision and being able to defend it and bringing everybody along and aligning them along with that decision.
That's awesome. So building on that, it's unusual, I think, for presidents to be, well, there are lots of presidents who have had other careers prior, but yours is, I mean, most people wouldn't feel like they need to move on to leading a university. In addition to, you could have just stayed in the lab and continued to advance the kind of work you were doing. I'm just curious about, did you plan for this? Did you see this for yourself, or what was the big pivot for you in terms of moving from the research and this just stellar career to be like, you know what I want to do? I want to take on a way harder job than I need to.
I think it's been around much again like my research in sport-related concussion. It's about finding solutions and opportunities on the other side of every challenge, and that's what we did when we helped to build out the concussion protocol for the NCAA and the NFL. This was about trying to protect athletes in sports such as football and hockey and lacrosse, and that where many people are saying that we should ban these contact sports, and I'm like, no, that's not the answer. Let's find a solution. So same way in higher ed. I mean, we've got a lot of challenges, and we're faced with tough decisions every day, and so I think it gets back to the hypothesis-driven approach, and I love trying to solve problems, but creating opportunities out of them, and it keeps me energized, and so I'm really enjoying it. I love my time at UNC Chapel Hill. And learned so much there that I've been able to bring here to Michigan State University, where higher ed has sort of a set of common challenges that we're faced with as university presidents. But then on our own campuses, we have our own unique challenges. But it's been a great first roughly 17 months, and we're finding a lot of opportunities on their side of the challenges.
Were you always a problem solver as a kid? Like this idea that when you see a problem, you want to dive in on it. I'm just like, where'd that come from?
My two younger sisters might disagree with me, but of course, I took on leadership roles even in high school. I mean, I was even though I was a student, I was an athlete, but I also was a student body president. Was the editor of my high school newspaper. So I always wanted to. I always found myself in a leadership role, most often because somebody was tapping me to go at it and give it a shot. They saw something in me that inspired me then to move on into that role. So I think, I probably have taken, even as a youngster, my mom said I would be the one that was trying to solve the little nitpicking argument or fight in the sandbox at the playground. So I don't know.
The sisters probably thought you were a problem creator. If like most,
you seem like a really hard brother to have. You're very I have a very exceptional brother. I'm like, this is good. This, it's not probably the funnest.
Yeah. You already sort of addressed it, probably at least a part of this by all the good talk about the hypothesis approach. But how much overlap do you sense, and what are they in the sort of skills that you use to excel in the research world and that are, have you thriving and keeping up the fight in administration? Are there things beyond that hypothesis approach are there sort of actual traits of yours that you think?
Yeah, I think it's about building trust. I mean, even in the research that we did around the developing the concussion protocol, as you can imagine, it's a very controversial topic back when I began this work, and there was a point where some of our research was highly critical of the way the NFL was managing concussions, and I challenged the leadership there. And Roger, as a result of that, Roger Goodell and I became very close friends, and began to develop a partnership with the NFL and the NFL Players Association because they saw value in research driving change. The kickoff rule that was changed in 2012 in the NFL, and then subsequently in the NCAA was a result of our research, and it was building trust. And so I think as an academic leader, I believe in shared governance, and I spent a lot of time, with our faculty senate leaders, with our student government leaders, and then those that I report to, our board of trustees. And to me, it comes down to one word. I think whenever things break down in any enterprise, it's about a lack of trust. So if I could place emphasis on one thing, it's building that trust, and I learned how to do that through my research career, and carried that right over into my academic leadership positions.
This moment is very unique in higher ed. We do a lot of nothing but curveballs every day, all day. Curious if there's anything that you're learning or thinking about now that is helping you navigate the constant changing and switch ups in higher ed. Like it's part as a leader, but also just as a professional. Like, how do you keep your head able to navigate that much complexity in are you like a hardcore meditator or something?
Well, I'll say that I start off every day with some form of exercise, mostly running, either out running around the campus. I got a small running club, or running on the treadmill if it's too cold or too hot outside. But so that's really important for me. I tell people all the time that work alongside me that if you make sure you take care of your own health, your family, your faith, those three things come first. Prioritize them however you'd like, and if you get those right, that fourth priority, that being the job at hand, you're going to knock it out of the park. And I have to live that same way in order to be able to message it, in a meaningful way to those that work alongside me. But these are challenging times. I wake up many mornings saying, what hammer's going to drop today, and how am I going to have to? I think I'm going into the office, going to work on A, B, and C, and I end up working on D, E, and F by 10 o'clock because of some of what's happening. But I think we really have to articulate a strong case for higher education, for the partnership between the federal government and our America's leading research universities. I've written a few op-ed pieces on this, and I've spent more time on Capitol Hill in the last 6 months than I have probably in the last 3 or 4 years total. And I think we're beginning to make some progress there. That partnership's really an important one. And then I think more locally, we have to be sure that the taxpayers for a public university like ours, and all of those that are part of the University Innovation Alliance, we have to be sure that there's a good ROI on taxpayer dollars and those that are attending our great universities. And I'm working really hard at that.
That's great. I guess we'll head to the last question, but on that, we're always talking about like when people feel like college was worth it. Is there a distinctive moment for you that you recall experiencing where you were like, man, maybe it was right out of college, or maybe it was shortly after, where it was like, wow, that was totally worth it? Like, is there a distinctive experience or moment or like thing that you think about when you think about what was ROI for you?
Yeah, well, it might have been working in a warehouse at a pharmaceutical company during the summers between my sophomore and junior year and junior and senior year, where I said, I am going to pursue this college degree, is going to be more important, because I saw, working alongside incredibly hardworking individuals, but that had not pursued a college degree, that inspired me to say, I've got to get this degree. And then I think during college, I think I was really fortunate to be around some real motivators, people that I have tried to emulate in many ways throughout my teaching career. And I still say that people say, "Where's your favorite place on campus?" They think I'm going to say, "Oh, Spartan Stadium," or along the Red Cedar River here as I'm looking down over it, or and to me, it's in front of a classroom with a group of curious students. And so I was inspired by a few of those mentors that I mentioned earlier, who encouraged me to stay curious and to never be satisfied with yourself, and to keep moving upward. And the one moment where I decided to move on to get my PhD, I had a chance to stay on and work for the Pittsburgh Steelers as an athletic trainer back after I finished my master's degree back in '92. And at the same time, I had been offered the opportunity to go to University of Virginia to pursue my PhD in sports medicine. And that mentor from my undergrad years said to me, "It's never going to be any easier to go get that advanced degree now than it is now." And fortunately, I took that advice. That was a pivotal moment for me, and thankfully I did it.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of advice, we tend to wrap with a question about sort of what the best advice you've gotten that sort of most influenced and from whom, if you want to name the person, but was there a single piece of advice or a single sort of bit of guidance that sort of most set you up for where you are?
I probably, Doug could probably give you 3 or 4 of these, but the one that sort of has landed me into a university president's role would be one that a good friend and one of my predecessors at UNC Chapel Hill, Holden Thorpe, who you probably know well.
Yep.
The day before I accepted the role as the interim chancellor at UNC Chapel Hill, when Carol Folk decided to step down, I made a couple phone calls. One of them was to Holden, and he at that time was I think he was still at WashU and maybe pivoting over to his role at Science as editor. But he said, the logical thing would be to probably say no right now. You're doing such a great job as a dean, and your research is still, thriving. But these are illogical times. So maybe not the logical thing to do, but these are illogical times. And I think you're the right person to do it during these illogical times. And so, that was a fun way of saying you're up for this challenge. You can do it, and you'll do it well. And it put me into that role that I might not have. I might still, who knows what I might be doing had I not done that. And then 5 really good years there, and we sort of righted the ship there and worked through some challenges, and now I'm really enjoying doing the same thing here at Michigan State.
And these continue to be unusual times. So that you are perfectly prepared, and that advice transcends. Well, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure. Doug, as always, you're an excellent co-host. We're always so happy when you can come back. Kevin, thank you so much. It's really been just a pleasure to get to know this other side of you. I had no idea about the journalism piece. This is a whole new angle. And for those of you at home, we look forward to catching up with you next week. Take care.
Thanks so much.